welcome back to The Watch. Okay, Last of Us, the TV show, episode 1. I have thoughts. Do you guys have thoughts?
I have happy thoughts.
You have happy thoughts?
After all the things we reviewed recently, Shad, we've been through... Well, you've been off sick, okay? We've also been getting sick, just swimming through the sewer of filth.
According to Nathan, we've watched some of the worst of the worst.
Worst stuff has come out earlier. So I was coming into this very skeptical with some of the stuff as well that the people said, you know, don't play the game because it's... But coming into this, I'm so much more...
There were warning signs.
Yeah.
Just like there were warning signs with House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
But we judge it on its merits, and honestly, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
No.
I liked it.
Dare I say some parts were good.
I'm saying this with the clear caveat that we know where all this is leading.
I was just about to say, like, it's very important to understand that we know where it goes.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter how good this is, I know where it goes.
I do want to also bring up that there are warning signs in this episode.
There are a couple.
There's like things that it could lean in a certain direction that isn't good.
This could be a bait and switch, for all we know. But also on that topic of we know where this leads, I still think that we can enjoy this like how I enjoyed the first game. It's kind of like with Star Wars. I can still enjoy original trilogy even though I know it ends with Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, same.
And this is making me... I wanted to play the first game for a while, and then the second game came out, I was like, done. I don't care, I'm checked out, it's dead to me. But the first game was good for a reason.
Yes.
And so... we shouldn't be too surprised if they really are... Well, I'm interested to talk about that, how faithfully this is based on the first game. But if they have competent people behind it, and they work off of the good elements of the game, you should be able to get a good show. And I still think I'd be able to enjoy the first game, and I'm tempted to play it, and then that's the end. There's no second game.
That's it. You can end on that too. I feel like you can end on the first game and be happy.
And this is the same like with House of the Dragon. If Season 2 is an absolute bomb, I will just enjoy Season 1, and especially for the story of Viserys, and he had this great arc that I feel had a really good conclusion.
Yeah.
I'll take that as something that I'll enjoy and have good memories of the rest of my life, just like original trilogy with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so perhaps that could be where this is going.
Or maybe Neil Druckmann feels so bad about part 2, he just rewrites it.
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be amazing.
He won't though, he's doubled and tripled down on that.
He won't.
Well, here's the thing. If he did, I would be like, all right, you hurt us with Last of Us Part 2, but at least you're here and you're trying to make amends.
But I don't think he will. I'm just saying, what are the chances? This is a good adaptation.
He's not that guy. He's not doing
I'm
that.
guessing, what's his name? Craig Mazin, the Chernobyl showrunner, is kind of tempering him a little bit. It's like, let's not go there.
Is he? Oh, well, then that explains...
Yeah.
So, because Chernobyl was great.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, the other reason why, it could explain why this was not as terrible as people feared, HBO is one of the only other things that made anything half decent, which was
like Velma?
House of the Dragon. I was going to say, they also gave us Velma. Okay. And so it depends who is...
Is Velma the sacrifice you need to give to have House of the Dragon?
Everybody's been saying HBO is really on the ball. It's like, well, they just gave us that. Like, okay.
But they also just gave us this. So
I don't know what I feel anymore.
Yeah. Conflicted.
At least Disney gives us the same crap. The HBO is just confusing me.
Well, HBO is just a branch off Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there's interesting. There are small little warning signs of woke infestation and the reason, if it just stayed with only it's, I would say they're either subtle or they're very played down to the point where it doesn't really bother you. And if that's the case, I'd be fine. They get their little statements that validates their worldview here and there. And if you give us a good show, the problem is that these are usually warning signs that the infestation is already there. And just like certain, fungus can get inside and grow to overtake the body to create a zombie monster, that's also what usually happens with.
I also want to make it clear, Neil Druckmann is writing this show. So... And you go off what's the term? You go off a writer's last work, and if we're going off his last work, it's not good. So we got to just.
So that's why we're cautious, and because there are already signs of the infestation, and we have the second game as a. I guess conclusion where it's headed. Tyrant.
I just hate the last game. Like it's just. You know,
what's the name of the character? The butch one?
Abby.
Yeah, that's right. This is all headed towards Abby. Abby is Druckmann's muse.
That came into my head like you said before with that.
What?
They want Abby to be the main character of this show.
On paper, we've got a bit off topic with the second game, just so we can get it out of the way. On paper, I understand what he's going for. Like the idea of playing as the villain for a while does sound like a good concept, but it's how it's executed is so important in that game, and it's trash.
We don't want to give spoilers of people who are just coming into the show.
We can't touch.
But we'll reference names and things like that, and the reception of the second game. And I know all the story of the second game. Haven't played it, but I watched the commentary and stuff.
Playing it's a different experience, man. Because
you want 10 hours of it?
It was more than 10 hours. It was But despite that, I still enjoyed this, and I was so happy to have a decent adaptation.
This is the thing, that a lot of what happens in the show is actually well written and is consistent. There's some small elements of bit of contrived stuff here and there, little elements of narrative validation.
Yeah, and then there's
little plot holes that you got mad at to watch.
Okay, so
hang on, wait for spoilers. Okay.
This isn't a spoiler.
Okay.
I am a watchman. I restore watches. So when she walks into a watch store, this is so minute, but it's like you were swords.
I love it. Dive into it.
She goes in there with a quartz watch, a $20 cheap Kmart Best Buy watch, and she goes, "Oh, the spring's broken." That's like saying the blinker fluid in my car is broken. It's that type of nothing. What you just said. It's a battery powered watch. You just replaced that. It just annoyed me. It made me.
That's fine. That's fine.
Perfectly valid.
I think it would have made a more elegant story. It would have been more enjoyable had they actually added that detail in. Because I feel like Last of Us is always about the little details that make it interesting. That detail there made it more brilliant. And the fact that they missed that.
Yeah.
What, you mean like Curtis and Viper 2? Yeah, I wasn't happy to see that little Last of Us 2 Easter egg in there.
Oh, see, I don't know any of those size Easter eggs. The way they could have done it is just literally the battery's dead.
Yeah. It would have been literally.
And that achieved the same thing. And it's in line with his character because he forgets to do small things because he's so focused on working and getting the main stuff done. He just has never gotten around to replacing the battery.
It's something that I bet nobody knows. But when I saw it, it annoyed me. It's just why say that? You could have just said the battery's dead. That's it, and done. The scene is fixed. Everything's good.
And people might say, well, if the battery dead, she could have changed herself. What if she didn't know? She actually thought something was broken. She could have reacted.
No. People do take their watches to get their battery replaced. Exactly like you saw. That is people do that because they don't open their watch and stuff. Yeah. So, it would have been fixed with that, but it annoyed me.
You were going to say something before Marcus.
No, that's fine. I suppose to bring up the contrivances are just your standard stuff that you expect, that you see from a lot of.
They don't break the show.
No, but they are still annoying. From that, just it would be better if they did not have them there instead of having them there. And then there's also a few changes that I'm conflicted on.
We'll talk about those as well. I'm interested on the changes because I haven't played the games. I know a good bulk of the primary story, but not little things. And I have questions that I want to throw by you guys. But okay, so when I think about the overall consistency of cause and effect, it plays out pretty good, actually. I like the reason why people do things. This is so basic 101 storytelling. It shouldn't deserve praise for achieving this most basic requirement, yet nearly every show we've watched hasn't been able to do it.
No. Just look at our recent reviews on stuff.
Look at Willow, where it's just insanity, where they set up things and don't pay them off, and then they contradict things in the previous one. In the same episodes, they contradict crap. And the characters just have schizophrenia because they just can't decide where they're going or what they're doing.
I feel like I'm having war flashbacks to Willow.
Vietnam flashbacks.
But things are consistent here. They set up motivations. They set up factions. Okay, they set up the world decently enough. And I'm not a fan of horror, but I am a fan of like post-apocalyptic stuff.
I like dystopian stuff.
That's a point that I saw, because I obviously noticed things like set design and props a lot more than the average person. And I felt, this is something I mentioned to Marcus before, in the original game, it's very dark and grey, very Snyderverse, sort of like hopeless feeling. But in the show, it's very, everything's well lit, everything's, you know, it feels very post-apocalyptic more than horror. And that was just something that I noticed.
Well, I mean, it helps. It works for me because that's what I prefer. And I like the kind of... I've always liked the different kind of take on their zombie, you know, fungus thing stuff. So that seemed well executed. The world seemed dangerous after the post-apocalyptic thing. The build-up to it worked well. And where it ended. There are also small signs of actually good writing and competence of characterization. Even in the very first scene, I was like, all right, we're already dealing with more talent than we usually see in this show, where it's not a spoiler because the very first scene, it's like this flashback where these scientists are talking. I do have like a criticism here, but the thing is though, one scientist talks and when the other talks, clearly different character, clearly different personality, and it's achieved in his first response and in the interactions, and already that's actually good characterization style writing. And if they can do that with that level of finesse, we have potential here. There's people actually with talent working on.
Not to mention weaving in exposition in a way that isn't like a blunt force hit to the head,
or on a radar just saying, and now there were 4.
Don't remind me.
Something about like the entire thing, like we'll probably cut this a bit, but like every time now we get some sort of like it's a worldwide pandemic, I just feel like they're trying to say COVID. I know they're not. I know they're not.
No. Actually, that is one of their little ideological validation lines that they throw, because there's multiple. It's not just that. There's multiple things. Did you notice they also throw in a climate change thing?
Yeah, at the beginning.
Well, with like the heat rising.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
well, if the heat rises because of climate change.
It is at least internally consistent with the world that they're building.
Yes.
So I don't think they're trying to push that, but like because we've just been through it for like years, it feels like that's what they're doing.
This is the thing.
I don't think they are.
Pushing, I don't see it as much. That's why I said specifically validating. People who have these really strong ideologies, they always love to reinforce and validate their views, and they express it in media and stuff like that. And I don't have an issue with it if it's like this, but the problem, the pattern I've seen, as I was saying again, this is a concern because it usually grows and gets out of control. It's an infestation, and it isn't balanced by letting other characters who have different worldviews express their own kind of valid expressions of their worldview, and usually the opposite side is belittled and always shown as wrong or incompetent or...
But at least it makes sense within the confines of the show and everything, like the games and stuff. So I don't have that big of an issue, but I can't help seeing it that way because of everything that's just happened, you know, like the last couple of years.
Yeah. Alrighty, so I would probably give episode 1, at least, look, I'm not saying it can't go off the rails, I hope we've proven that if it's good, we acknowledge it as good, okay? Even when there's warning signs going into it, and we call out crap when and we don't hold back, all right? And so far, it's all right. The episode I enjoyed. If it goes off the rails, we'll call it out as that. And look, because like House of the Drags, I loved it, but there was some big issues in it. Was it episode 7? It's
that was 9.
Just Rhaenys and Dragon. Episode 9.
Yeah.
It was just. Overall, great show. Still some really, really dumb things here and there in it. And I'm interested to see if they can keep this consistent. I would give it maybe 7 out of 10 at the moment. You could push me to an 8, depends. Your guys?
I'd probably just go with... it's 7. It's good. I don't want to go anything above, like, grade or anything else like that, because I don't know if I'm going to regret that later.
Well, I'm going to regret it later, maybe, because I'm going to give it a 9.
Wow.
I was very... So the thing that... and we're going to dispose of this. The thing that would be the make or break for this is the before everything happened, the build up to it. Because that part in the game... When I saw that when I was younger, I was like, holy crap, games are better than everything else. And if the TV show can pull that off, as well as the game did, then I knew the rest would be all right, and they pulled it off for me. There were even elements of it where I was like feeling things.
They
more.
established the relationship actually really well.
Yeah.
I was a little annoyed here and there by small things, but they're easy to just push aside and everything, because overall the relationship was established really well, and the payoff, his reaction to it, has strong emotional weight.
Yeah.
And it works.
So for me, that just the rest of the episode I was happy with because of how well that was accomplished.
I would just say it's mid. It's not terrible. It's not good. This is one of those things where I would like to binge it so then I could formulate my entire thought on it.
So
but,
what, like a 5?
Yeah, I'd put it a 5. Like, I'm not going to say go watch it, but if you watch it, it's not like you're going to be like, oh, this is terrible.
It's interesting. I see both your ratings actually quite valid, because I can see both perspectives. Because this is why I'm kind of sitting on a 7. Even though it's done really well and there's good writing, which really lifts it, right? There wasn't a huge amount of wow, blew me away, where I'm like, just like, that's friggin' awesome, I'm into it, right?
What Marcus has said is what I would actually agree with, is that I feel as though there's problems now, like little tiny things now, that may bloom into problems later.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like...
because what I'm trying to do is just focus on this episode alone, but because this episode could tank quickly for me if they mess up the second episode.
Exactly.
And the second episode has stuff that they'll need to nail to make the rest of the show work.
Yeah, when you try and take the episode self-contained by itself, like, there was good suspense. It was, but it was mainly at the beginning, and then it was just kind of world-building setup and stuff. And as a result, didn't blow me away. But the fact that things were consistent, well written, and I am engaged, I'm hooked. I'm like, when the episode was ending, had that feeling like, well, now I gotta friggin' wait. You know, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just tainted by the second game. Like, I know where it goes, so it's just like.
I mean, it's fair, especially when you see Neil Druckmann written by.
Something I will, as a criticism. Now, this was different for them, but for me personally, Tommy, his brother, like his actual brother, I didn't even associate his brother. The casting was so different that I didn't realize until halfway. I'm like, oh, Tommy, right, his brother. That's who that was. It just didn't even click to me.
Yeah, they don't look like brothers
at all.
Yeah.
So, like, I know his brother's Tommy, but like, I just didn't even think about him. Like, oh,
I mean, and his daughter doesn't look like his daughter.
Casting is definitely.
Is that in the games?
No.
No, they are a lot more.
They're Texan.
Yeah.
Like,
so
you stand
Texan, you know what movie that?
Because they got Pedro Pascal, and he's a bit more Mediterranean
Hispanic,
ethnicity,
I believe.
Hispanic and stuff. Than Joel from the games. Joel from the games is
very like, I would say, like, I personally, if I was like to cast him, I would go for someone more like Hugh Jackman style. Not Hugh Jackman, just like that style. I just don't think Pedro Pascal fits it, but his acting is perfectly fine. Like, he's a good actor.
We should it's good that we talk about some of the actors and stuff before we go into the spoiler section. Because it raises the warning signs. Okay, they have race change characters, and it's not because they couldn't find the right actors to fit the original things. Right. The only reason is for their diversity. But if you actually look at the demographics in casting in Hollywood, diversity has gone so far beyond equal representation based on breakdowns.
We watched Velma yesterday, and it's like...
What are you talking about? We watched Blood Origin the week before.
Because if you look at the percentage breakdown of the amount of actors of different demographics going for roles and everything, they've overshot that by a mile. And so it's not for equal representation at all. They do it only for their ideology, and that's a concern because
it actually confused me. Like, I didn't even get two and two together that was his brother until, like, he was not in the scene and he was like, I gotta go rescue Tommy. I'm like, oh, his brother Tommy, right?
Yes.
Wait, Tommy from the start. Oh, that's his brother.
Perfect example of doing this was detrimental for the final product because it
but that's just confusion. They put it together.
Yeah, but that's because I know who Tommy is.
Yeah, I know who Tommy is, but I just my brain disassociated.
I didn't know it was his brother. I thought it was just a guy that worked for him.
Well, yeah, there's the thing. Me and Nathan have played the game. We know it pretty well.
Yeah, but I know it's his brother. I just disassociated from it.
But this is the thing. This show should not have to rely on information from the games to make sense. No. Okay, no show should do. If this is a proper adaptation, should be able to be self-contained, made sense, and enjoyable on its own without needing to play the games for the context. So there's that. The other thing that I didn't like the casting of Ellie.
I don't know.
Ellie is probably the most shakiest thing for me. That can go either direction right now, but right now it's on the direction of very not good. I'm not impressed.
See, I didn't mind her.
Yeah.
I was more maybe my brain. I think I just had a much worse reality. So when I actually watched it, I was like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. Like, I see where you're coming from, and I would have cast someone else different. But also, I think the actress is actually doing a very good job of portraying who, despite them saying don't play the game.
That cringe line. Oh god, what was it, Marcus? The cringe line where she says directly to the person like, I'm gonna like something. She starts swearing at her and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just so cringe.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know. I don't have the games to reference it. I know some of her personality, and she can swear, and she'd be like, "Yeah."
Oh yeah, she
like,
swears. That swearing's not the problem.
She has a
It's
playful
more
side that I've picked up from the game.
Yeah, it was just cringe.
Well, that's the thing. She has a playful side that I've seen in cutscenes and stuff from the game and everything. I didn't see that in this. Like, did this iteration feel different, or they just didn't have the opportunity to get there?
Should we get into that, or?
Well, I think at the start of the game, anyways, she is very how she is in this episode.
Okay,
like, she's
so
very.
that's
I don't know.
consistent.
No, I think in the start she's very defensive because she's being captured by someone. There's strangers around her. She's obviously in defensive position, and then, like we see at the end of this episode, like her walls start to break down a bit more because she has to, and that's how the
The
relationship
thing
builds.
that's getting me is the whole angle of she knows no one here. When in the original game she knew Marlene at least, and had a good relationship with Marlene.
Yeah.
Here that's gone, so she's just a bratty child to everyone.
Yeah.
Whereas through
But
Marlene, we were able to get, this is how she's really. The swearing and being a bratty child was just a facade against other people, defense mechanism, if you will.
Yeah.
Where
That's
it's
what I'm
not the
saying. I was
case.
okay with that because in this context, at least,
but
she didn't know anyone.
But
Then
changing
there
the
was-
Marlene thing
there was
is
the law thing,
a
yeah.
bit of an issue because we just get the bratty side. We don't get the good side.
This is a good point because she did very little in the episode that made me like her.
Yeah, and if you had the Marlene bit where she's essentially treating Marlene as like a role model mother type figure, you get that more likable side and you understand what she's really like. But it's not here, and it's a weird choice.
Well, this is why it's on that, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Because it's the other episodes that I'll have to really contextualize and reveal more about the character, hopefully in a consistent way,
Yeah.
that could get us there. Because at the moment, I think, the actress is passable. Didn't blow me away.
I think there could have been others hired to do a better job.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, like,
The actress did a good job, but had we gone back to casting, we would have had someone better, I think.
There's another potentially, I don't know, spicy thing that it's hanging in the air. It's, the elephant in the room that few people are probably willing to talk about. But we are here on Night's Watch.
oh, I dropped my pen. There you go. You can talk about stuff.
Oh, is that my phone going off?
So the casting of Ellie, the actress, okay? Look, one-on-one, you'd never really be this critical of stuff like that. But when you're talking about a show and everything, there is the halo effect that can benefit not only a show, but certain roles, all right? And this is the thing. The actress does not look like Ellie.
No.
And one of the big differences is that she looks far plainer than the original design of Ellie.
Yep.
Okay? And one of the things that I felt helped work with the original Last of Us is Ellie being cute and innocent made you feel more protective of her. Now, I'm not saying that people who look different don't deserve as much protection, but if you want to help the show get to where it needs to get the investment easier, there's a benefit that they could have employed through the halo effect that it did in the games they're not doing here. Okay? And the reason why I'm even bothering commenting on it is that there is a bit of a pattern in modern shows where there seems to be this pushback against traditional beauty standards. Not just traditional beauty standards, but even standards that not just traditional beauty standards. This is the spicy part. Sorry, not just traditional beauty standards. Traditional gender standards.
Oh, okay, that's not spicy.
No. There seems to be this pushback of men embracing, masculine virtues and masculine looks, and women embracing feminine looks and feminine virtues and stuff. And as a result, we see men being depicted as less masculine, which they didn't do with Joel. Good.
Just look at
But
Willow.
look at Willow though. There's multiple examples, multiple groups, and then also with women and girls looking less feminine and less like women. And they definitely have done that with The Last of Us #2, where they made Ellie act less feminine and look less feminine. And then you have the butch, Abby, which, you know, if you saw from behind, you would think is a dude, all right?
With a ponytail.
And look, women can be buff and feminine, and there's many examples, all right? But they go out of their way, and it's just like, they've done it on purpose, you know they have, and it's just this small little thing. Does it ruin the show? No, it doesn't. Does the actress do a passable job? Yes, she does. I think they lose out on the halo effect benefit of getting sympathy and engagement from the audience easier by having the cute, innocent kind of vulnerable thing that, you know, Ellie originally had. It's less so in this because this is the thing. The actress, they made her, this is intentional, they could have made her look feminine, but they made her look more boyish on purpose.
Well, there's also how she behaves, like in how she's written to act, which is just, we open the show, our intro to her is she's chained up and she's acting insane, trying to break the chains. I was like, oh no, is this Quan from Halo? Are we doing that again? And sorry for reminding you guys of that.
It is the actress from Game of Thrones, the little actress.
Lyanna Mormont.
Yeah, so they basically saw that girl boss, little child being so, you know, strong, and they thought that's my Ellie, basically. So,
but it's like, no,
they shouldn't base it on. They should base it on the game.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's all that's all she's been in, right? Like I haven't seen her in. It's basically a one-to-one character.
Yeah. There's a few other things that she's been in that have not looked good.
Like, did they even change her hair in this Saturday? Because I don't know.
Well, Ellie's supposed to be redhead.
Oh, so they did change it.
Yeah.
And just the way that, like, for some reason, I need to. Well, we'll see it. I'll be able to point it out when we're going through because, like I said, they went out of their way to make, you know, this actress look more boyish when they could have made her look more feminine, and it's just a consistent thing that we see quite a lot. And as I was saying, it doesn't ruin the show, but another warning sign. There are multiple warning signs, and then we have the trajectory where this is headed with Abby. Still self-contained. You can enjoy this episode, and hopefully we can just enjoy this season before it gets to Abby. And I would love it if they just rewrite the whole second game Abby arc, but the
thing that's worrying me about that is, yeah, we could get a whole good season until the end.
The finale, yeah.
Because the ending is where things get very shaky.
You're right, because they're going to probably rewrite the game, yes.
That's where you would know for sure if they're going to do it.
Scumbags. Ooh, that would piss me off. I know how the first game ends, and if...
Yeah, and that's the thing, they need to go for that ambiguous ending. If you don't,
Wasn't it multiple choice, the ending?
No,
so... I've seen a lot of commentaries on it. They made it pretty clear in the first game about the choice, but in the second game, they did some retroactive. They tried to make it.
I hate that game design. How it's like you get to choose, but then in the next game you go, "Well, we chose for you." Like,
well, you don't really get a choice in the first.
No.
One.
What I'm talking about, the reasons why a certain character does what he does is pretty clear in the first game. Yeah. But in the second game, they try and make it more ambiguous that he potentially did something really bad,
and he didn't have a choice.
Yeah, they made
and that friggin' pissed me off.
The ambiguity is about whether what he did was for the greater good, not if it was the right choice.
Mm-hmm. And well, that could undermine one of the biggest and most important payoffs of this arc in the first season. And
an arc they're setting up, by the way. I want to make that clear.
Yeah,
they want to change it. They tried to rewrite that interpretation in the second game. So Druckmann, he wants to change it, and they probably will do that with this first one.
Unless the Chernobyl writer's like, wait, no, can't change it.
Wow, I'm intrigued to see what they do, and it could make or break this thing. Wow. All right. If you really can judge it on its own, do you think the show would still work and be satisfying even with that change if you didn't have the game for reference and you knew one that was objectively better and more emotionally satisfying?
Maybe. It really just depends on seeing how it plays out. I mean, like, never say never, but...
Yeah, we'll see. Alrighty, well, that's the non-spoiler section. Lots to talk about. This is a very meaty subject and stuff to. But now we're going to go into scene by scene. We're going to spoilers. You've been warned, and those were our ratings, which was 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10,
Mid out of 10.
5 out of 10. Alrighty, we shall begin. So this scene was one of the things that's like, okay, there might be potential here because the dialogue for the guy who's talking, like the contrarian who talks about the fungus, was good. It was individualized and he was blunt and curt, and the reaction of the guy in the middle was feeling awkward. It was actually well written.
Yeah, the whole exposition on what this, like the whole fungal infection as a concept is presented as very disturbing.
It seems very convenient that it is exactly as he's explaining.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely one of those conveniences.
They could have thrown in maybe he mispredicts a couple of other things, but he basically
it would have helped.
It's exposition for the audience that this is how the zombies come, how they are made and come from and stuff.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's where that little weird climate change thing shows up as well.
There was a nod to climate change here, and nod to pandemics and all that. Now, pandemics, I'm less inclined these days because it's relevant and so it depends on what I guess in what context it's referred to, and just the fact that pandemics can happen, isn't really like a woke thing. It's just.
No, it's just a thing that happens.
Yep. So, I think it worked well. It was
interesting how it started off all light-hearted and it was just, normal discussions you'd expect on a talk show. And it just gets darker.
Closer framing, everyone starts going quiet. I'm like, yeah. Because this wasn't in the game, was it?
No.
Am I forgetting?
Of course not.
This is added context, which I really liked.
With the whole, fungus explanation, that's just, a thing you look into outside of the game.
Yeah.
Where they were inspired. And also just looking at, the little visual clues, I believe.
It's good fun world building. This actor, he does a good job. And I don't think I remember him from is The Mummy.
I was about to say, it's from The Mummy.
Yeah,
he's from The
the
Mummy.
brother.
So, I think he also played a couple of Roman emperors and stuff.
Possibly. And the intro
I got a very
with
Game
the
of Thrones vibe.
Oh, yeah, but it's HBO. This is what they do.
But everyone's wanting to copy the kind of Game of Thronesy,
But even the
epic
music
and the thing,
kind of
they did it with Wheel of Time. They tried to do it with Lord of the Rings, and so.
But I like this one. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's
This made me happy.
It's good that
and it was cool with all the fungus and everything. Yeah.
I was worried that they weren't actually going to. They were going to ignore that whole fungus idea.
I heard that they were ignoring spores,
which again, that's one of those things that could get worse for me.
Because that's a core
concept
big, of
big
fungus
idea
and spreading.
Yeah.
So interesting. Begins in 2003. We're introduced to the daughter.
Yep, Sarah. She's
now. Do you see flashbacks to this character in the games?
Yeah. So you play her at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Is she as much of a smart know-it-all in the games as they do here? Because they really
there's
play
an
that up.
implication that she is, but
she's
not as much.
I feel like she's a bit younger and more naive in the game.
So more realistic then.
Yeah.
It's
like she's still taking care of her dad basically. Cause
Yeah.
he's the same as in the show, where it's kind of just his head's in his work, and she's obviously trying to be that good daughter that can help him. But we get a lot more context in the show than we do in the game.
They developed a relationship, which is good. One of those, just the small little things is every girl has to be ultra smart and everything, and it's okay to show guys being somewhat absent-minded, bumbling everything, but no, all the girls have to be really smart and capable, because if we show them any weaknesses, we must be sexist.
A daughter being raised by a father becomes self-sufficient.
More independent,
Yes, as a young boy would. So I'm fine with that.
It's if it was in isolation, I don't think I'd have an issue with it. It's the consistency of it. Every somewhat prominent female character in this entire show is all ultra smart and competent. Okay, and there are guys that you're shown actually I don't think it's about because Joel is smart and competent, but he makes mistakes and is flawed, and that's more realistic. It's a better character as a result. And then we see a lot of other male characters who are either make mistakes or they're flawed or they're stupid and stuff. It's just, it's the same stuff, and we see it here. And so, it's Ellie, it's the daughter, and it's his partner, who are all bang on the money, girl, strong female character
Maybe.
stuff.
I don't think we can confirm that just as yet.
I didn't get that with Ellie.
I mean, Tessa did get beaten up.
Really? Ellie figured out the code like that.
Yeah, but I felt like she was. I guess. Yeah.
Like with
she
Ellie,
got-
sure. With Sarah, she does make some mistakes later. A pretty big one, I might add.
So, well, actually, I had a question about that. His partner, the lady, is she in the game?
Tess.
What, Tess?
Yes,
Yeah.
okay,
And Tess
okay.
is...
Tess is in the game.
Honestly, they did Tess very well. That's
Okay.
exactly how she is.
So, I guess it wouldn't stand out to me or bother me even if you could keep all these characters the same, add another female character somewhere that shows some human traits of incompetence, right?
Well, that was kind of what they did with Marlene in the first game. Nathan knows what I'm talking about by makes lots of mistakes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's. But anyway, in isolation, the character's actually fine. Okay, and the more important part is the relationship.
The
between
banter's
the two.
quite good.
Yeah.
It's in line with what the first game did. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I guess we're...
All right, so there's the brother.
Tommy.
I guess he looks a little Hispanic as well. But I didn't get brother vibes.
Well,
Yeah, was it like?
I can't make a judgment on this because I just see them as brothers.
yeah.
So the way they walk
I'm
in, it's
not-
like, oh, I love you, and it's like, oh, he loves you, like that. It's just the vibes of.
Yeah, I don't think I can really... I'm with
See-
Nathan on that one.
There's a lot more context here getting with the story because in the game it basically starts with her giving him the watch.
Okay.
So all of the setup to how they are now, her going to get the watch fixed, going to school, chilling with the neighbors. None of that's in the game.
Well, this is the other thing about the sign of the consistent world building and writing and stuff. The relationship between the neighbors is actually important because it sets up certain conflicts that
Yeah.
we'll get to, and it's all really consistent. And actually, the setup is there, the payoff is there. It makes sense. So quality elements of the writing there, and so this is when they're interacting with the neighbors.
Oh yeah, there was subtext here as well. Like, yeah, we don't really want to hang out with you, and we're trying to find any excuse we can.
And they're like
not in a
both
mean
handing
way.
off like the job.
He makes up like a thing or a sickness, and then there is some kind of snarky back and forth, like she'll tell you all about it and stuff, and that's multi-layered writing that
It was charming.
you can't pull off by accident. You actually need to know some elements of writing quality, and I just find it so funny. Like, it's basic. This is actually basic stuff, but we didn't see a single example of this in Willow. Like, multi-layered subtextual writing.
No, we didn't, did we?
It's funny. Oh, man. And sad, but it's good to see here. And,
Yeah, that's the thing. There was a bit of padding that was a bit weird for me, but then I started realizing, oh, they're slowly creeping in the elements of what's about to happen, which...
yeah, you know, because she was at
it
school,
grew-
she
it-
catches a different bus, she gets
Yeah.
the watch repaired.
Well, this was the
But
interesting...
they've been dropping little hints of problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's
But-
like... Wasn't there...
In the opening, they're asking like where that place is with work. Is it in Asia or whatever? And she's
because
yeah.
they said there were problems or something in a country, and then
Wasn't there like...
police, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was
and
about to
stuff
bring up.
like
I'm
that.
sure
The
there
shop.
was like a bunch of police and ambos and...
And that's effective
Fire
build-up.
brigade.
It's building attention, and you know this is where it's going.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I was just like, hurry up and make the apocalypse happen. I'm getting
Well, in the
on
game,
way.
it's just like boom, stuff
even
blows
just-
up, things happen.
Even going off like this team's previous work, Chernobyl was pretty quick in just going, oh yeah, it happened.
Man, Chernobyl is good.
Yes.
Oh.
Go watch Chernobyl.
Chernobyl's brilliant. If you can watch this, you have access to Chernobyl, so watch Chernobyl. And yeah, again, the build-up where the wife's like locking down, going. What annoyed me
Yeah,
here
watch
though is like,
They don't
why
say
wouldn't she say what's going on?
Yeah.
Just go home.
Well, that was my biggest...
Like, why?
Well, that's my
It's
biggest critique.
Wouldn't the first thing, things are going to crap. Have you not heard the news? People are going crazy and biting people's necks. Like,
Yeah, because I don't believe for a second that news has not spread about
'Cause-
this.
yeah.
Again, a real world parallel. When stuff went down, everybody knew what was happening. Like
And-
things
and-
were closing down. Airports.
Even
were
if this
stopping,
is in 2003, you would still know.
Yeah, and in no realm would you be like shutting things down, get out, and not explain why, or like because she's concerned enough to tell her go home. I should give advice. Why don't you say why?
Well, one
like
of-
avoid people, you know?
One of the other problems is later on, she asked, is there something on the news? And the person who has access to the news is like, oh no, nothing's on.
so funny. It's just like,
like, what?
there's always police, and it's like, yeah, very American.
And the fact that her and her dad have just been not catching up, like cluing in on the things. Like if I saw the amount of police stuff and stuff. My first thing is like radio news. Well,
Yeah,
if it, to
planes.
this level,
Don't forget like the helicopters.
the
in there
helicopters
I think
and
there's, like,
stuff. There's been
military
enough
planes.
signs that any reasonable person would be like, I need to find out what's going
we
on.
say that, but that might be just an American thing. Like, I have no idea how Americans deal with that sort of stuff.
So one of the things I wanted to say was I see the issue with it. It's funny because I like the build-up, but they don't pay it off. In the games, you basically wake up, news isn't happening, you see an explosion,
Yeah, it just
like
happens.
stuff is just going down by the... Like, you don't have time to read the news because everything's just, like, gone haywire.
Yeah,
which I
Joel-
like more in the game because it happens, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, in the game, Joel just comes in and is like, we've got to go right
Yeah,
now. Stay away
shoot
from
your
the
neighbor,
windows.
get in the car, we're going. And so
Yeah.
there's no time to figure out because everything's already been
And then it's like
disrupted.
slowly... I mean, this still does like the slowly peeling back of what's really going on, but it's just...
They
takes
go
its time.
out of their way too much to make the main characters and even the people in this house be completely unaware about society breaking down around them
Yeah.
to the point where it's explosions everywhere and there's no...
I don't know. I don't have a problem with that. Because
Well,
I feel like
it can happen. It feels contrived. Is my point because there was multiple times where they could have, especially that lady
Yeah,
that sends her
okay, yes,
out.
yes.
Multiple times they could have got
feels
more
contrived, but I
information.
want to make it sure. Like, there are days where you just like are so busy doing stuff,
Yes,
you just
that's
don't even
true.
know what's going on. And something big happens.
Well, like I could get.
I could give that.
I give that to Joel,
Yeah.
right? But we've seen all the interactions she's had and
the
opportunities.
contrivances of that, yes, sure.
Yes.
Right.
Maybe not the old people though, because old people.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, I mean, what are they? I don't know. I guess if they never watch the news and
Yeah,
they're
Maybe.
maybe. Yeah, look, build up with the old lady.
Okay, this
That
is...
I thought that was good. Like this is where we see her and
Oh,
she
it's a
starts
creepy scene.
and she's like and starts to get the mouth thing.
The thing that's getting me...
Sorry, that's just the zoom in there, right?
The thing that's getting me, though, is... Was it here that she contracted it? Or was it earlier? I'm guessing the implication was
Back in the
earlier.
city.
Well, it tells you.
Must have
They
been.
put up a sign on the neck or face. It's like 15 to 18
Well,
minutes.
that-
On the arm, it's like
These are like infections through cuts and everything like that. This is like I don't know regular viral infection
I guess
that
I
grew
was-
over time. Is my
I was thinking
assumption.
of the game where it's spores, and spores is like sprouting up in different places, but I guess that's not the case because Sarah's fine.
well, yeah, exactly.
And so-
I think that's why they avoided it.
That's why
because
it's confusing.
it just adds up too many issues of like everybody's gonna have it basically.
Again, it's just you can solve that just by having like a small thing somewhere, and just make it clear that that's nearby.
I agree, but it's just too much extra to add. I would say
That's their
for
job.
like a TV medium.
That's their job.
You're acting as if I'm making the show.
So she sees like now all these signs,
Yeah,
and
that-
now fighter jets flying from.
See, this is my nightmare. My nightmare is walking outside and seeing fighter jets being like, oh, they're finally taken over. All right.
I thought your nightmare was driving to work every morning.
Those are my dreams.
Part of me is like, it's time for the preppers to rise up and survive.
Get everyone in the car, go to the Shadlands.
Well, oh yeah. So the thing, and she still hasn't put on the news. I guess she's just reading. And I thought here was when it was going to happen when he turns on the TV to flick over to the VCR or the DVD. That the new this would be splayed across the news at the moment. Like I remember when September 11 happened, every single channel had cancelled programs and was just reporting on that. All right, and if something like this significant was happening in even just one like. Maybe if it wasn't just
Especially if
one
we're
country, but
talking
it's
about,
global.
especially if we're talking about American mainstream media, they get off on that sort of stuff. On
The
tragedy.
only reason I found out was because I was in school, like when they came in and said it. That was the only reason why I found about it. 9/11.
But everyone was talking about it when.
As a kid, I didn't.
You were younger, sorry. I was in high school at the time, and I went to seminary, which is Bible study before school, and I heard about it there that early. Like it was
But
everywhere.
even then, I think back to like when SARS happened. I did not hear about that at all until I was older, just because like I was a kid.
But SARS is all, like, think about this. This is people going crazy across the world.
Yeah, but it's like the same sort of like thing, like an outbreak type deal.
I don't know, like
It's that bigger.
with the amount of
I'm feeling
damage
it's like
it's
as a
already.
kid, you just don't care.
Well, I thought they would have done it here when they turned on the news, but no, they just watched the show, and
Yeah,
Can I
that's
say,
where the last
this
of the
scene
two
here
reference.
was like 1-for-1 with the game.
Yeah, it was.
And I was so happy with interaction. Was like,
Down
how'd
to
you pay for
lines.
this?
Down to
Drugs,
lines, actually.
hardcore drugs, and so like all of that, perfect. I was like, oh yes.
all right, good. Let's hope they do more of that then. So
This might actually be a first for you and me, isn't it? Because when we see video game adaptations where they
I'm
take
always
lines
like,
directly from it.
No, this is.
I mean,
Because it's...
you know,
I haven't seen that.
the last TV show adaptation for a game was Halo.
Thanks for reminding me.
Oh, the contrast is night and day.
The thing that's... you know what? There's an Assassin's Creed one day. And that's going to make me go crazy.
They did the movie.
I did a movie, and that was... I did not like
was
that.
not good.
I did not like that.
Didn't even
remind me.
finish it.
Don't bother.
So this is all consistent. Like
This
Tommy.
bit's different.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah.
So
Tommy
Tommy
being
wasn't
in
in
prison
prison.
is a... No.
So they were both just asleep, and then the game starts with you. Well, it doesn't start, but like the gameplay starts with her getting up, and she's walking around. You see the channel and stuff, and then Joel runs in and actually shoots the neighbors, and then she's like,
Because the neighbors
"What the
break
heck's
through
happening
and they're
here?"
crazy and they're infected.
See,
That's
that makes
Ellie.
more sense to what actually happens here because the I get where they're going with it, but the fact that they arrive at the exact perfect time when she's about to get killed because they're like that's a Deus Ex jump save.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happens twice, and it's just like, you know,
It's like, you're doing so well.
yeah. She gets in.
Yeah, this was an odd decision. To walk in there knowing that the dog doesn't want to go in, and you probably take the hint.
It builds up the suspense.
But again,
and
that's her
stuff.
making a mistake, and I can...
And this is why the payoff of that relationship with the neighbors, like she's obviously familiar enough that she's hangs out of their home and everything, and so justifies the more likelihood of her entering the house because the dog's, you know,
Something
free.
to mention, you know those little fern things coming out of her mouth?
Yeah.
They're the exact same things in the Avatar, that they're ponytails.
Why are
You're trying to say they want to
reminding
mate
us of
with them. So
Just so we're clear about that.
the old lady that's going
Oh, wait,
crazy.
so this fungal infection is actually Pandora. It's an invasion.
The old lady that's going crazy runs out, and lucky for her, the dad comes by at this very moment. Lucky for her, she woke up at that exact time, and at the time it was so
There is
perfect.
something
But then he just, like, it's an old lady. So one solid wrench into the head takes that one out. And so, look, I like that. Joel, he'll get things done, and he'll
Well, I like
protect
this
it.
next scene where Tommy's freaking out and Joel is already, we've got to do this, we've got to go to this exogen point, we've got to go here.
Taking charge. Yeah.
And he's formulating a
Makes
plan,
sense.
clear and concise. It's good.
One of the things that hits me like so hard is the family with the
Yeah.
child asking for help. It's like, because I understand both sides so like that you need to protect your own family, your resources and the things are limited.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
But then there's like charity and mercy is so important to help other people out.
Well-
It's just like, I don't really know what I would do. I was just like, you can't
Well, it's
blame.
good to see that.
It's a
Because
small
that is-
thing, but
that's something that comes up so much in the first game. It's just a constant thing. It's why that game was
So good.
Yeah.
Like, and all of this here, chef's kiss of how well it was done
Yeah.
compared to the game. 'Cause
Yeah, it's handled
like
well.
even the way they turn to the streets. I'm like, this is like nearly 1-for-1 for the game.
Oh, really?
Like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, they
Yeah, I can see that.
perfect.
makes me want to play the game, I tell you. Though, isn't there been controversy that the remake of the first game, remaster, they have made certain characters look less appealing?
Yeah.
Again,
so
it's
you
a
wanna
consistent thing!
Go to the PS4 version, not the 5 one.
Yeah, the PS4 remastered version is the good one.
Yeah.
So don't do the PS5 because they call it like Last of Us Part 1.
Yeah, don't go for
Don't
part
do that
one.
one.
Just go to the
Just
Last of
remastered,
Us.
and it's
Which ones are available on Steam and stuff?
No.
well, I think it's the Part 1.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh, we got to double check that, but
Because I hate that they do that for their own ideology for virtue seal and stuff, and also that consistent. I don't know.
Well, it's rewriting
Attack.
to fit something that came up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They like they have this grudge against traditional beauty standards, and so these characters are too attractive. We need to make them more ugly. And then it's just like, gosh, I can't stand that crap. And so, anyway, just talking about the current remakes. Back to this. Effective scene, and you get caught up.
Yeah, some good
plane
tension.
crashes. Oh, so good. Because it makes sense. It's like when I always think of with Endgame, the planes were just in there. I'm sure one pilot got zapped out, and then planes crashed.
One pilot.
Oh,
I'm
and
talking
people.
like half of them.
Yeah, true. And this happened. Oh, it's again.
Broken foot, can't get away.
Yeah.
Brother on the other side.
That was
dad protecting his daughter,
I'm on the
doing
fence
anything
about
to.
that part though. Like how
Yeah.
they're cornered in an alley and Tommy can't.
Oh
get
yeah,
through
yeah.
them.
That seemed a little like. They'd have to.
I mean, it was
the
always-
cars would have to have been butted up against the wall to not just go around. So
I mean,
that seemed
I
a
can
little-
accept it, but it is something that I'm just like,
Yeah, like I don't even. They don't show that. There's this scene, but I don't see them blocking
yeah,
off.
jump over
Just
that.
jump over the top.
But then
Hell!
again, I'm also critical of how Last of Us 1 separated them as well. So
But like seriously, we see the car there. You could have just jumped over the top. So the separation, you're right, is contrived and
yeah, it's
small
not-
things. It's small things, and
it's not.
it doesn't
nothing
ruin the show.
broken.
Okay, so starting to get chased down, and this is the other like ultra convenient thing.
Yeah, like the zombie just runs really quick, but he runs. Okay, how's it go?
So actually,
They're running like here, and the zombie goes ah, and goes ahead of them, but they run past because the zombie's on the ground just trying to get up. And
the
cover.
zombie got knocked to the ground by running into a fly screen door.
Yes,
It has
that was- I think it was
ma-
like,
it was like, you know.
I'm just thinking back to the game. These things are hard to kill at times.
And so he gets shot in the head because, lucky for him, he ran out to run into the soldier.
Lucky.
You're right. I think that probably balances it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
because this guy basically thinks they're infected.
And this is how it happened.
Yeah, it happened. Or it's a bit different because I feel like this soldier guy's kind of next to them, behind them, where Joel was running past the border, and he was on post to basically stop anyone from getting out.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. So they're trying to keep him under quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all the
were.
infected.
I
in.
still feel as though that this is rather realistic, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not.
Yeah.
I feel like
This,
it's realistic.
I think this one is more forgivable than the brother coming in to save, what's his name, at the perfect time a bit later. Because again, he came in at the perfect moment to save Joel's life. Where this, it's more plausible. You could run into a soldier guy and he's shooting down zombie infected people. But yes, the soldier guy shoots them both before the brother's able to, shoot him, and the daughter gets shot. And this was very emotionally impactful. It's
done
tragic.
very well.
They paid it.
And like her acting is top tier
Yep.
in this scene.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a fan of
the breathing, the loss.
I wasn't a fan of the casting, but she
She
earned
did
it.
very. I think that's why she got the role, probably because of this scene.
Well,
In
I
the-
mean,
in that-
I'm always hesitant about it because there's a lot of great actors you usually can pick from. And so it's always, do you always notice that the best actor for the role is always the one that requires a race change these days? It's like, it doesn't go in reverse, does it? So you can understand my skepticism.
At least this one.
At least she's
the
a good
actress was
actress.
very good.
She is. Because we do see swaps where, like, the
acting was
actors
not good.
look at Wheel of Time, where the swaps are just like, they're not contributing anything to that role. They could have gotten better actors that suited the role much more. But yeah, tragic. Then I didn't know it was such a time jump. 20
Oh, it's
years.
massive,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's just quicker to do it that way. This was interesting because this scene was not also naturally not in the game, but it was. It did help to set up what this society that we've got now is like.
Yeah, so these are small little things that don't really affect, but like, would nature have overgrown that much in 20 years? Maybe, but then what caused all the buildings to fall down like that in 20 years? Like, this isn't a war with explosions where things are getting artillery, bombed.
I was more like, 20 years you could build that, sure, but how are you going to build that without anybody attacking you? It's just a lot of like that little how would you do that exactly?
Because that's like a massive concrete wall.
To be fair, those are flaws with the first game as well.
Yeah, there's flaws in the like.
I would have the same criticism.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Same
like
kind of
the
deal.
fact that the entire, unless they destroyed these buildings, I guess intentionally,
Maybe it was the military.
to stop the infected having places to hide and stuff. Maybe. But it looks like a war zone, like they were getting shelled by artillery. It's like the infected zombies wouldn't be doing that. But
This is like another.
hey,
faction.
it still it looks very post-apocalyptic though, and in that sense, it's like
I don't know. But
Okay.
that, for a second there, that looked more Fallout than
that
Last
wall
of Us.
here.
That's what I was saying. Like, it's very I don't
Colourful.
I don't get hopelessness from this. I get like, okay, Fallout.
Tyrant,
I kinda
amp
like
up
that.
the nihilism.
The thing is, though, the wall here looks way taller, because look at it in respect to the buildings behind it, compared to here. Now the wall looks way small, like half the size. Small little things.
There is something else about CGI in this. Now, I noticed it was when Joel was blinking in a future scene, it looks like his eyes are CGI. It looks weird. Nathan saw it as well.
We don't know what it actually is though. It could just be the weird lighting.
So the kid falls down, they bring the kid in, and this is an interesting scene where it's basically just showing the brutality of the new world. Where
There it is.
they show the...
So, torso, arm, shoulder, hand, 2 to 8 hours, leg and foot, 12 to 24, and neck and face, 5 to 15.
That's where you go crazy and over affected. They have their little thing, or a scanner, which is... like, I don't really know... Because technology should have ceased, really, at the outbreak where things go to hell, unless there were pockets of researchers trying to think.
I'm just thinking
Well,
of
there
like,
are
the
in this
people with
one.
the scanners on the forehead scanning the...
Well, that's the thing. We don't even have that for friggin' as though a full worldwide economy working on it, and they just have a scanner to tell if you're infected with the virus or not. I was like, how'd they develop that in an apocalypse?
I don't know.
But they do. It's
It's
just
a fungal infection.
maybe would it be easier to detect fungal spores?
I don't know
Maybe.
what would be.
I don't know. Anyway, but
knows?
they do that. They don't show the result.
Yeah, they did. It went red.
Did it go red?
Yeah.
Oh, so they did. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know it went. I missed that one. So and yeah, this girl. Boy, I can't tell.
That was a boy.
I thought it was a boy. Yeah.
I suppose a girl.
You see?
It's probably
like,
a boy.
Why do they do this? It's intentional at this point. Where they don't want you to be able
Don't assume their gender.
Kid. There we go.
Oh my goodness.
Is that the same, the terrorist chick?
No, that's not
You
Marley.
sure?
No.
No, she's different.
No,
other
it's
one.
not the other one either.
Yeah. And then that same child is there and can't do it, and Joel just has to get the job done.
Yeah, and we learned that the kid
Impact.
had to
And
die.
it's and it's the close up of the shoes. They specifically close in on the shoes to show it's the same character because they did a close up on the shoes and thing.
Sponsored?
The
Is it?
the
Do you
kid.
reckon? Do you reckon that's sponsored? DC shoes? I used to wear DCs as a kid. Yeah.
Is that brand around in 2000?
Yeah,
I used to wear them.
Because another thing, when they jumped 20 years forward, I was like, this was interesting because that means if they're being careful, they should not have any new technology or any new developments or brands or whatever that came about after 2002.
So when you said brands, it's like a new
But-
cordyceps
but-
brand just dropped.
I was also thinking like they shouldn't have guns that were made after 2002 and stuff.
See, I think
But I think they did a mostly good job. The cars looked dated of the period, and I didn't. Well, the scanning things looks like new technology.
My interpretation is that obviously regular civilians and stuff, they're not making stuff. We don't have an economy anymore. But
Like,
at least the army and the higher government would
They
have
already
resources to
probably
do
have like
Yeah.
10
research
years in
and
advance
stuff.
that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it makes sense to me for the
so
army to have
much
stuff.
technological advancement comes from the private sector, and so that would have broken down. With
I think in this world,
apocalypse.
I can at least make sense to me that the army and whoever else has control have resources to
develop certain things, maybe. Yeah, Joel just needs to dispose of the body, and the kid was put down. She was infected. The kid was infected, and brutal reality. And look, like if they're actually infected and they don't have a cure, that's what you would need to do.
I do I want to give credit to Pedro Pascal's acting here. He's nailing the cold Joel, we'll say, or bitter Joel. Where it's just like, this is just a job. This is just something that's normal.
It's not affecting him at all or anything.
Yeah.
He just does what needs to get done.
It's been 20 years.
So
Just remember that.
look,
Yeah, well,
no, I'm just saying,
minor
it's good
nitpick. An open fire can't incinerate bodies to that level.
No,
you need
no.
an actual furnace incinerator that they have at crematoriums to get to that level. In fact, it's just like a
It's like
open
barbecue.
barbecue thing. It's
like
like,
a barbecue,
there'd be
yeah.
skulls and bones littered in that
Yeah.
thing. Again, these are the fact that we need a reach to point out errors like this is more of acknowledgement of the quality of the show,
Well, yeah,
because
the
we're
show-
not the main things, the story and characters are all working.
It's making us work a little harder than we normally would have to.
Food rations seem to be a bit of a currency now, and
Yep,
you know,
that's-
he's doing extra work.
Makes sense, fine.
Like I like little details like this, like things that are no longer being manufactured suddenly are far more valuable. So even
Something
shoelaces.
that I noticed, the prop department and set on this, like these scenes where they're inside the city, is excellent. It's top tier.
Okay, good.
Especially when we get like I'll point it out when we get to the scene.
Oh, I just realised something. They wouldn't have burnt the people with their clothes on. They would have salvaged
Same.
the clothes. Same with the shoes. Like they have a close up on. I know it's to show that it's the same thing.
I don't think
same
they want to go
character.
that dark.
But they're usable shoes,
Yeah.
and who's making shoes in this period? now?
You're right.
Again, it might just be the ambiguousness of the. Is it spores? Is it this? Are the clothes infected? But then again, they're just
He's
handling.
touching it,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. They're just handling it with it.
So there's a contradiction there. This is basically this part is effective to show that they're living under a totalitarian regime where these people basically went to an area they weren't allowed to go in. They went out of their
They
zone.
amped that up a bit, didn't they?
And
Nathan?
an
'Cause-
instant execution. And I was wondering,
But this is realistic. This is
well, it depends. It depends on the perspective. But the thing is, because it can go both ways, I let it pass. Because one, with a worldwide, apocalypse like this, one of the greatest resources you have is people.
Yeah,
Because
right.
work, and so human life would be protected. But unless resources are limited and you don't have enough food to feed everyone, then suddenly that's a burden, and any excuse to lower the population
I
would
mean,
be taken.
which way did it go in the last couple of years? So just imagine if we had something like this,
I see.
I'm
what you're
not saying that this is unbelievable.
Oh,
I'm just
exactly.
saying it's been
I think it is believable.
increased, which I'm okay with, because
Yeah.
we didn't really get as much in the game.
And it
that we
makes
do
it more
here.
later when Joel and Ellie have to leave.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know the threat obviously
this
gets
scene
caught.
here, like the props that this guy's wearing, fantastic. It's all believable.
yeah,
The weathering on everything is perfect.
I agree. It's good stuff. Joel, he does some bartering behind the scenes, selling sleeping
Another good
pills.
detail that they brought back from the game.
Yeah.
But that was just a line of dialogue. We actually see it here.
And there was a good line. I'm not sure if it was something, but he's like, having trouble sleeping at night from base. I'm paraphrasing, from all the people you have to kill,
Yeah.
essentially. Good line. And the fact that this character does come out later on, also,
Yep.
a good setup. And that, it's not nowhere near as contrived that the soldier you run into happens, because he clearly interacts with a lot of soldiers.
He warned him though. He said, "Don't go out."
Yeah, we're doing double shifts
It
tonight.
happens in this scene as well.
And
yeah.
so, I think I get that the fact that Joel runs into him later on is perfectly passable, because the show chose to show this scene, this interaction with this soldier, because he runs into him later on. But Joel, essentially, I'm sure is having a lot of interactions with a lot of different soldiers, and and so it's not like he ran into the only soldier that he ever interacted with later on.
I think what's important about this scene is it shows that the soldiers, doing stuff like that. But then when it comes to like being out of quarantine and putting everyone in danger, like, nope, we're doing this by the book. Use a code. Like, I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because that's very realistic.
I agree.
Yeah, it would happen that way.
Yeah, exactly. People inside the walls in the safety will do shady.
Yeah.
When it
Okay.
gets outside,
You'll bend the rules.
yeah. But when it gets outside, it's like, no, I'm gonna put you down. This is,
Okay, this is...
This was a good scene, and it also, because the previous one was talking about getting the battery, or getting money for the battery, or something about the battery came up in that previous
This
conversation.
was another thing that we heard spoken about in the game that they've now done here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't over a car battery. I believe it was over guns.
Okay.
That was the only difference.
So, this is
I just want to point
Good
out
scene.
that guy looks exactly like the game version. They
they
did
can do
perfectly
it.
there.
They clearly can do
They
it.
just didn't do it all the other places they could have. So it shows me you're willing to go to that route for a minor character.
Yeah, a character who dies later in this episode.
Yeah. But
Not the main
spoilers-
characters.
We're in spoilers.
But yeah, that's Tess.
Yeah, so basically, he
And
promised a battery, he got the money for the
older.
battery, and then sold it for someone else.
Tess is much older.
attractive.
Well, okay, she did look more attractive in the earlier versions of the game, but in terms of lore, she was like a 40-year-old. And so I think it was kind of a technology thing
You
back
know
in
what?
the PS3 era.
I'm gonna show-
where they're like, we can't make her look too old, otherwise she looks 80 instead of like
I'm going to
40.
show you.
So it's a
Tess.
younger, older version.
Alright, well, Marcus has an example to show us.
That is the comparison. So that's how Tess used to look.
See, I would prefer they stick to the original, you know, depiction. And 40-year-olds could look like that.
So yeah, that's Tess.
Interesting, yeah. Like, too attractive. Got to make them look older and. Anyway,
I mean, at least they got the character right.
Oh yeah, well, so the character's right then.
Yeah, Tess behaves like that.
Good. So I was surprised by the destruction. I thought, like, holy hell, did they get shelled by something? What is going to blow a hole and through, not only through the wall, but the floor of a building? And this was like a concrete or brick building, and it was a car blowing up next to a building, and I was like, no.
Yeah, that's why I was confused
But, like,
about too.
That wouldn't cause that destruction. Are you insane? What are they saying here?
Yeah, that would.
What?
That's an American city, and their basements are like right just off the street.
It was a brick wall. You need a bazooka to go through directly aimed at a wall to get that level of destruction. But this is like just a car blowing up next to it that was still several meters away from the wall. No way would it do that.
Let's test it.
I want to see the wall where it
Next
was.
on Night's Watch.
Also, I kind of feel like Tess would be dead.
Yeah.
That was another contrivance.
Everyone
I
else
was
is
like,
dead except for.
Look at that wall.
Yeah.
That's a solid brick wall.
And the car's presumably just right there.
A few meters away from it.
I'm not saying it would explode it like that, but I'm saying it would.
It would
cave
damage
down.
it, but it wouldn't do this.
Yeah, but that's Hollywood explosion.
Holy crap! My goodness. So anyway, I got to call complete bullcrap on
Yeah,
that.
I'm with you on that one.
But the fact that, you know, it was a terrorist attack and she was near it, and then she gets caught or assumed
Yeah, that was
as a
another weird
terrorist.
convenience that, I'm just in the middle of a firefight between fireflies and the government.
Well, yeah, the contrived part is that happened right where the meeting was.
Yeah, that's why I was like, there's potential that this could go off the rails if they do stuff like this, but bigger.
So now we're introduced to Ellie. I'm just saying...
And yeah, I don't like this introduction. I'm not fond of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't work for me. I think the game did it better with just having her a part of the Fireflies already as like a potential recruit, or even just knowing them. This is like, they captured her from somewhere, and then that begs the question: okay, where? How did you capture her? When? Because it hasn't been for long. So,
So, the tests are clearly to see if she's infected. So I don't really see that it was a huge reveal later on that she's immune, because it's basically described here that you were infected, but you're okay because you're passing the test so casually. We get it. But maybe that's what they wanted. It just means that it wasn't such a huge reveal later on, because they made it so obvious here. But anyway, she's got attitude because she's like... she counts, and then if you at the end, is that in like was that her character?
I feel like I've seen that at some point in the game. She's done something like that.
I don't know.
But I don't know if that's a
ringing
part
any
1 or
memory
part
bells.
2 type thing.
Because there was nothing in that scene that made me like her, and consistently she's got that level of attitude, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying a character doesn't work, but it just doesn't make me like her. And the scenes that I've seen of Ellie from the game, she was much more likable.
Yeah, her first intro was really solid. She was she was nasty to Joel and Tess, not nasty to Marlene. That's where you got it. That's what I was referencing earlier.
All right, so this is where you find out that he hasn't heard from his brother in a while, and
Yeah, it's here. It's here. You want to see? Watch. No, just leave it playing. Well, this isn't for the thing. Just to show you. Watch his eyes when they do a close up. Now.
The way his eyes blink
They're
are faster than usual.
Hmm.
It's just a weird thing. I think you're just picking. Now you're really nitpicking.
no, that's not a criticism. I'm just saying, like, you notice FPS more than me. It's
Yeah.
like something wrong with the eyes there.
Anyway, back to
So, what's good about this is that it's all cause and effect. It's all set up, payoff, and it's consistent. And so I like that. He's planning out that he needs to now leave to go and find, his brother, help him out.
Yeah, we see Joel's not having a great time still.
Yeah, he's struggling
Drinking
to, sleep, and he takes sleeping pills. And you already knew that Joel was her guy, her man.
Yeah, this is pretty much the game version of their intro as well.
Okay, good.
Exactly the same. Aside from the battery angle, it was guns.
I like that, sold the battery somewhere else and he instantly is ready to just,
that's
go
good to see.
nuclear.
that's
Joel, I like Joel's character. That's good. That's what you'd want.
Yeah, there was a reason people weren't happy about him being...
Exactly. Well, like, this is going to be, like... Joel is making this show for me, right? And if this is leading towards...
Golf clubs.
Gay... golf club.
Going golfing. Yeah.
Like... You're going to ruin your friggin' show. Oh, my goodness. And your replacement is Abby? Are you kidding?
Just be smart and don't do that.
Exactly. They need to rewrite the second game, which they're not going to do.
I wonder if Neil Druckmann's going to direct the scene of Abby and the
Druckmann just gets off on the second game constantly. Like it's
that's why I don't think he's going to change it.
Exactly,
Like,
he's not going to
change it. He when it
he
came
is
out,
attracted
he
to Abby.
dug into that.
I know. It's like the most explicit scene was Abby. All the other scenes cut away. Yeah. But no, you will watch this one and you will like it. Otherwise, you're a bigot. That was what the real impression of the second game was.
And then just go watch some live streamers and watch their reactions.
Like, no! Oh my goodness. So this frustrates me because maybe I just have to take season 1 as a self-contained thing, just like the game, if it's going that way. Okay, so she talks him down.
Anyway, so we get Firefly scenes.
Fireflies.
And we're introduced to Marlene, and...
Is that Marlene, isn't
No,
it?
that's the other one.
That's
Oh,
Marlene.
yeah.
Okay.
Nathan, how do you feel about Marlene?
I don't know, I feel like you can take this more better than me.
She's fine. That's really all I got. She's fine. She's not... I mean, she looks mostly like Marlene, but again, they've aged her up again. They've aged all of these characters up more than what they were.
My thought when I saw this scene is like, all right, these Fireflies are actually well-equipped, very organized, and have a main central base operation in this city. With a regime this authoritarian, they would have swept every single friggin' building in the city. Like, I just like...
It's funny you say that.
Like that, how the hell have they been avoiding detection? Like, to me, they would need to be in the sewers somewhere to be... But if they're just in a building, that's
funny.
not hard to detect. Like, just sweep the city.
Just saying, it's funny you say that, Shad, because in the game, they were.
Really?
They were wiped out. Yeah, Marlene and a couple others were like the last of the Fireflies, and it was a big deal. That's why it's such a desperate move to go, look, we need this kid escorted out. Joel, please do it. I'm begging you.
I swear their symbol looks like Zelda.
A little bit.
That's the symbol from the game as well, so...
That's what I thought when I saw it. Okay.
Because the fact that they have been performing big acts of terrorism and stuff, and this regime is ready to just murder people at will, I was like, that's hard for me to believe I get to this level in this location without being detected.
You do remember what she said, though. You got to remember the exact lines. We're here to restore democracy. And
yeah. Was that? I was wondering about that because it felt like the second game were trying to humanize the Fireflies more, and the fact that this one they're already framing the Fireflies as the good guys.
Well,
was that in the game?
Yeah, at first you believe they are good.
Okay.
The Fireflies situation is all very complicated, I would say, rather than just being
Okay,
Good or bad.
Good.
or bad.
Good.
So far it's okay, but I am concerned about that because
I like this interaction. Tell me to go to the light and I'll break your jaw.
Sorry, it's no offense. It's just when that happened, all that popped into my head is just like Mormon missionaries knocking on your door. Like, have you heard the good word?
But you should listen to the missionaries. Not a terrorist group. We're not. Mormons aren't terrorists.
I don't think you have to say that, Shad.
yeah.
There's a clear contrast and difference. Anyway. So they find out where the battery is. They're going to sneak up through the sewers. Another interaction with... what's her face?
Yeah, this was Marlene and Ellie, and it was very hostile.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, Nathan? When it was, like... They were
'cause
close in the game. That's the
Really?
weird part.
Interesting. Well, they... this is a lesser adaptation then because it doesn't... By doing that, as we mentioned...
Yeah, because this would
it
have
makes
been the
it more-
opportunity
exactly.
for you to actually get to like Ellie, but they didn't do
Exactly.
that.
This
Instead,
is
they just had Ellie be
complete
snarky to her.
attitude, girl boss, female dog, basically. Anyway, but you do find out where she came from. She was sent to
What
an
is it?
orphanage.
What do you want to say?
That face.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's it.
That's all?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a face. All right.
So something that was interesting in this next scene is how not this particular scene.
That looked cool though.
How all the fireflies are dead
about
and all the gangsters are dead. It's like, did they shoot each other?
Oh, that's not yet.
It felt a bit like
We're not
They
there
did,
yet.
yeah.
they were taking on like a military cell versus some gangsters, and they got their ass kicked. That's how I felt with that scene.
Interesting. I do have a thought on it. Well, I'll mention it when we get to it. But anyway,
Yeah,
so they
because we're
find
still
like
a bit off.
a
Yeah, this is the final state
Fungus,
of the clickers.
so
Which I
this,
wanted...
That type of clip.
Yeah, I'm waiting to...
how long does
get
it take
clickers
to get
proper.
to that point though? Because I
that-
thought one of the things that makes these things actually, in my opinion, more effective than zombies is that the fungus prevents decomposition and keeps them alive much longer, where with regular zombies you'd expect them to just rot to death.
Yeah.
But now, if they will just die out from the fungus overgrown, just wait it
Well,
out.
that's the
In
thing.
my uneducated medical opinion, what it looks like to me is if they're unable to physically take a body to get more nourishment, they'll do this and then they'll spread out and try and spread their spores to reach a new host. That's what this seems like it's trying to do. Like it's trying to go towards the light, trying to get out, but obviously it's trapped down in
See,
there.
because what could make this world actually so much more dangerous than a zombie infested world is that if the infected can stay alive as long as a regular human by just finding any form of sustenance amount. They can eat grass if they need to, but they'll always go for flesh as the higher priority. But that means everyone that was infected in the last 20 years could technically still be alive, which means the numbers of these zombies would be friggin' insane by this point. And that's really cool. And this kind of undermines that to me because, like, it means that they can just die from the fungus now.
Well, for me,
But I don't think that's dying from the fungus. I think that's just ran out of nourishment, and then the fungus is escaping to try and find something
Maybe,
else.
Maybe.
like if
No,
the
I mean,
body
looks like
dies,
it.
the fungus eats the.
the thing that's
eats
just
the
getting
body.
me, though, is whenever we've seen these in the game, you have to wear a gas mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the spores.
That's the thing.
That's what...
No gas masks yet.
That's why I'm looking at it and I'm like, it looks great, but...
You're breathing it in.
You're breathing
okay,
it in.
'cause
Which is
I
why
heard-
it's a big deal when Ellie's gas
Yeah.
mask comes off and she's all good.
Yeah, that was a great reveal that they did in the first game. Because
well-
her mask comes off during like a spore-infected area. It was even a good moment in The Last of Us Part 2 for as terrible as that game is.
That's really interesting. Like, because they have the reveal in this episode, and it's not like that. It's
No,
not
it's
as
not.
powerful. I do like. I heard that was one of their changes, that there won't be spores in this one.
Yeah,
and so
just-
it must be like you have to
And it's for
touch
that
it to get infected.
It's for that stupid Hollywood reason of, we gotta show the actors' faces!
Which is ironic because the Mandalorian doesn't show his face. And Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian. And always has a helmet on.
Look, I'm not as invested in the games because I don't mind the change as a result. I guess I think
I have to see more before I can, for now it annoys me, but it's not bad.
Yeah. From my viewing here, I just kind of got the impression that you have to have physical contact to get infected.
I think in this
I'm
version,
sure
yes.
it's a definitional thing. Like if you have fungus, you have spores. I'm pretty sure that's like a definition of fungus.
Well, that's how fungus is spread. Yeah,
That's what I mean. So like not having spores is like, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense for fungus. Okay. All right, so and to me, they're getting way too close for cover. If it even is his touch, I'd be avoiding it like the friggin' plague.
Yeah, you
he's
should.
almost even walking on it. I was just like, you guys are way too comfortable around this thing.
I will say that looks...
It looks great.
Yeah, they did a good job there.
Look, they did walk on it.
Luckily they're wearing shoes. That's...
All right, he's avoiding it. Maybe she won't. But still, I'll be like, you wouldn't even go near it if there was a chance of infection. It's like, holy crap. Okay, so go up.
Unless Tyra was right, which is it does look dead, so...
Oh yeah, like it's dead. Yeah.
Okay, so they come out here, right? And there's been a gunfight, and
Yeah, this gunfight confused me.
it did confuse
This is
me
where I'm confused.
because
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
This is the guys that she was talking with before, and they seemed really tepid, really nervous. They wanted to avoid conflict. They didn't want to take on Joel because Joel is dangerous. They'll take on the fireflies.
Yeah,
like, what?
that's weird.
I mean, really? And there's the battery, and turns out the batteries are done anyway. And yeah, that's the guy.
I'm gonna be honest. This looks like a terrible shot. Like in the cheek. I feel like it would have been. His face too
larger,
clean.
yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Feels a bit too clean.
I like the game version better, where they just hunted this guy down, interrogate him. Where are the guns? And when he refused to do it, I think it was Tess that just shot him in the head. And then Marlene shows up and explains what's going on.
Okay.
This is like, they just stumbled into where the gunfight happened. And that's how the mission gets going, which is just, I find it a bit clunky, to be honest.
I don't know. I thought it came together well enough. The fact that they fought to the death, we didn't see the situation that led to it, but it seemed like they were too tepid for that. But okay, if that happened, they were tracking them down to get the battery. They were selling the battery to the fireflies, and it makes sense. The fireflies needed it and resources or whatever. And so, to me, that is actually a convergence that makes logical sense. I thought it was well set up.
It's more just about how everyone's dead, and it's just the situation, how it ended up.
Yeah, and so...
And then these random people, I don't think Marlene knows Joel and Tess as well as she did before in the game.
So I kind of like just how easily Joel, he sees it and open, he's like, boom.
Yeah, that's good.
Good on him. Yeah, of course, Joel, I like it. And then he doesn't give her any slack at all, he even points the gun at her, and so they all...
We do get a good moment, though, when he does that, because then Marlene's like, no, put the gun at me. Which is... It'd be nice if they knew each other more, Ellie and Marlene.
Yeah. So, I think this goes down logically well enough. I was happy with it. This is where I'm satisfied with how the story progresses, and...
I can accept it, but...
Well...
Just
at first, I was thinking Joel needed to go to the same location where his brother is, but now it's a different location, and then he'll get resources and cars and whatever to go to get his brother after he delivers Ellie. That's the proposition. He needs those resources.
I do like that motivation, because in the game it was just, we want guns.
Oh, really?
Guns.
Okay. Well,
so it's
it
good
works.
that's to find Tommy.
Yeah, I think that actually works quite well. I found it satisfying. He was willing to leave the border of the town anyway, and so now he has a detour that's closer, that will enable him to get to his brother.
Yeah, it does make sense that he might as well.
And so that's basically what's established in this exchange. Ellie is going where she needs to go, so she's more compliant now. They talk about the exchange, that they're willing to kill Ellie, essentially. They say if they don't give us what we want, we'll just kill her. And so, interesting, moral grayness. Interesting setup here with the thing. I don't know if he would write that down. Wouldn't he just not? It's a simple thing to.
I mean, I don't remember the intros and outros. I should write them down.
This is mainly for the audience though, but I think it's all right. Maybe he's absent-minded. But then why not write down the 80? I don't know.
But it does X.
80. Well, the setup is that she discovers, because she's so smart, that 80 means trouble or danger, and it's effective enough, I guess, at making her that she's clever by pretending she doesn't know the name of the song or the era that it's from, when it really does. Now, I know in the games, it's the thing about Ellie collecting old school kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and so
lots of old music and collectibles,
and so that is already in line with her character, but the setup is that it's actually the payoff at the end of the episode when they're leaving. The radio turns on and plays. I don't even know if the song was from, but just for the payoff, that must be from the 80s.
Yeah, I didn't know that song either. I was confused. I thought they would play something a bit more. Maybe it's a well-known song,
but to imply there's something dangerous going on, and episode 2.
Well, since you mentioned that now, I'm glad that at least this pop song has relevance in the story.
Yeah.
Unlike other TV shows, movies who would just have I need a hero, or Willow, we just put in songs for the sake of it. At least this one, it's like, it makes sense because it's connected to the story and the characters in the world.
Willow's tonal consistency was non-existent. It was
I'm just having flashbacks to when they dared to play Enter Sandman. How dare they? Evil.
Every time you just speak of Willow, all I think of is like Eric Cartman. Screw you guys, I'm going home. Willow's just going home.
Alright, so he sleeps. This is where she does the whole thing.
Yeah, this scene
is
Nathan. I know.
1-for-1 with the game.
Really?
Yeah. Again,
is it?
they like go in and out of being 1-for-1, which I do enjoy. It gives them enough freedom to try new things, but also is like, don't lose us yet. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, no, look, we paid attention.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of us that don't want you to go 1-for-1 for the game when it gets to second game.
Just continue doing that for one.
Completely.
Well, that's just one. It's okay.
All right, so They're sneaking out. They have an underground tunnel. They're there avoiding detection, and they run into the guy.
Similar, right, Nathan? Because I'm a little more shaky on what the whole escape was.
Okay, I actually kind of want to rewatch something. I like the build-up where you hear the ringing in his head that he's starting to lose it, and then he gets a flashback of a similar situation when his daughter gets shot. And it's already showing that perhaps he has a protective instinct over Ellie. That's a holdover and should be from, his daughter. Thing is, though, there's a lot of distance that he needs to cross to reach that guy. And the guy has a gun pointed at him. And so I'm just like, oh, no, actually, that was the flashback. That was showing the distance of the flashback. Yeah. So I need to see because...
It's still pointing a gun.
Exactly. This is it. And, all right. We saw him lunge, and then it cuts, and he's already underneath the barrel of the gun.
The only, sort of thing my brain can come up with this is that they know each other. So, he doesn't want to kill him.
Joel does kill him. The other guy doesn't want to kill him.
The other guy doesn't want to kill him. That's the only thing that my brain leaps to, why he didn't shoot him.
Maybe if they show him hesitating, saying, I don't want to kill you, Joel. And if
he didn't. He didn't shoot him. He had a plenty of... It's like, dude, move.
Because I like the build-up. I like the emotion where he snaps. I just feel like maybe he should have waited until the gun wavered and got off center or something like that, and that's when he snaps and takes the opportunity, because it looks like he just ran towards a guy with a gun pointed at him, and they chose not to shoot because main character.
If he stood in front of Ellie and he goes, dude, move, like that, and lowers it a bit, then done, I think that would have been fine.
Yeah.
But this, my brain just jumps to the clip, maybe...
It feels like plot armor. It feels like unnecessary,
they know each other.
Unjustified plot armor.
This is why it's not a great story. It's just a good one.
She seems impressed. It's like, oh, well, she's like, old man. It's all right, good. And Joel murders him. But actually, look, it's self-defense, really. What?
No, it's just the context of us being in Victoria. That's self-defense.
Yeah. Well, they were going to be handed in to be hanged, so at that point, defending your own life, what do you do? Okay, so as they're leaving, the radio starts playing the tune that is clearly from the period that indicates danger, and it comes into a crescendo, and we see, and that was a great, powerful ending. It got me as like, all right, I want to watch the next episode.
You know, a change that I do appreciate from the game as well is they held back on the clickers, which is a good move.
All right, to have a review later on.
Yeah, they should be introduced later on in a very different way.
Well, next episode it should be.
And I want to see a proper one though. I want to see how they're going to do that.
It's also interesting to see how they divide this one game into episodes.
Yeah.
Because I watched this, an hour and a half. This took me more than an hour and a half to get through the game. Because, also watching this, they missed that whole warehouse section where I killed all those bad guys and this and that.
Oh, yeah, they did.
It's just funny, there's
I didn't see me running.
Well, that's why I said clickers, because there's a whole clicker sneaking around section that's not here.
I saw on Twitter people they skipped the bit where Joel dies 10 times because of that first clicker.
I remember that.
Things like that. So it's also fun to actually just watch this and be like, oh yeah, I was playing a game.
That's the thing. I will admit, I am very keen to see how they handle the clickers, because they're handling a lot of the other elements pretty well.
It's a very strong start. We are not giving this our approval or recommendation yet.
Because, as you said before, with Halo, the first episode, we're like...
It was so retarded still.
Didn't you give it a 9? You gave it a 9.
This episode I gave it I'm talking about Halo.
I'm watching you.
There was very promising parts at the very start. We're like, oh, okay, they just shot his arm off. Oh, okay, they could get good.
Were they?
Was it the second episode where they have the magical touching device that repairs everything?
Yeah, that was the
that's when it
downhill.
Just
so that's what I'm saying. This first episode, I'm like, oh, okay.
The first episode had so much dumb crap in it too, because that's when he takes off the helmet. He's holding a gun to him. It was just like, oh, come on.
That was a painful experience that I'm not going to replicate.
Look, I'm hoping we continue on this.
Don't go the Halo route.
This episode, self-contained, very solid. I enjoyed it. It is good.
Let's just keep our eye on it, though.
Yeah. Have you seen it? Let us know what you think, as always, and thank you for joining with us. Until next time, stay on watch.
And there's no springs in quartz watches. You replace the battery.
Thank you, Tony.